Welcome to Tailgate Talk. Ritter, Wags, Tasker, the boys all back together. Of course, Wags at home, though, this week. If you want to follow us on socials, @On The Tailgate. Again, thanks to our great sponsor, Buck Rub Outfitters, for everything they do for the show, for us personally, bow seasons and everything. You want to check them out. Awesome people, Kaz and the entire crew. BuckRubArchery.com, or look them up just off Silvernail Road in Pewaukee, if you're between Milwaukee, Madison area in Wisconsin. But, Wags, we got a lot of catching up to do. I will fully admit, before we get going today, I have absolutely zero itinerary. I have zero thoughts of where this is going to go, which is why I'm actually excited to have a conversation, because this is the essence of Tailgate Talk. Is just no preconceived we want to talk about this or not. It's just wherever the road takes us, let's just roll with it.
Sounds good.
Well, what have you been up to? What's new? It's been a while since we got to chat. I know you're traveling all over, doing Illinois, you're doing here. What's up?
So, unfortunately, you have not seen any pictures of monster deer. So, there's still buck tags in my back pocket, put it that way. But, it's the the gun season went through. A lot of people harvested some nice animals. I saw a lot of pictures. I was fortunate enough to go up and see them, talk to the guys, hang out with some guys. Deer close in my vicinity, which, maybe a little bit more heartbreaking. It's always that, hey, great job when you're far away. But when it's in your backyard and you go up there and you pat them on the back and you drink a beer, you're like, son of a bitch, I should have been the guy handing out the beers and with a big smile on my face. But no, that's going good. Other than that, I think it was a safety. I saw something come on, whether it be a Facebook post or something from the DNR where it said over X amount of million, how many hunters were out in the woods, and no fatalities, no hurts, no major deaths, unless you've seen something different. I saw that, so I'm very thankful for that. And going into the hunting season every year, I think families, friends, get-togethers, we all pray for that, because that's one of the hard parts of hunting that could take place during gun deer, and we've seen it before in the past in Wisconsin. And at this time, it was fortunate enough nothing happened, so I'm very thankful for that. And other than that, we're just getting ready. The muzzleloader season ends. It just ended on Wednesday or today, and going into an antlerless hunt. So there's a couple people that need a couple of deers. So we're going to fire up some sticks, and I'm going to put some deers in there. So the offer is still out if you want to take a late season doe, unless I harvest this weekend, because I do have 2 doe tags left. And the good thing, again, going from piece to piece, Ritter and Task, like we were talking about, is when you buy our bow tag, as we know in Wisconsin, you buy your buck tag, is always weapon specific, but doe tags are not, especially, at least in my farm area, Dodge County area. So those are still available. I just like gathering the does and making hot sticks and handing them out as gifts or IOUs. So when the sticks come in, I will give you your Christmas present.
Yeah, I know Ritter and I have been kind of talking about that, where, very happy that, my buck is, in the process of being made into tasty treats for the holidays.
Mine is, I think, still roaming the swamp. I hope to God it's still roaming the swamp. I feel confident in that it is still roaming the swamp.
Yeah, and then
just with the little added extra weight in its back or shoulder or something. It's the only
something uncomfortable. It's just like acupuncture.
That still is. It's like the weirdest scenario. I was, the weeks have gone on since all that happened, and I've talked to people. Everyone's just like mind blown. I'm like, I'm boggled at it too. It just doesn't make sense. Like, it's just so weird.
Right.
Like, put a good shot on a good location and just have no blood other than on an arrow, nowhere. It's absolutely just puzzling to me of how, rib, shoulder, that's the only thing. And nothing with me should ever come easy. I'm always met with tribulations and struggles, and that's just my lot in life, and I'm fine with it.
So I'll say something about that. I just actually, as I was scrolling through this morning, I saw an article, and I didn't end up reading it because I just thought, I don't know. Somebody wrote an article about this because they must have just had a lot of spare time, but it was something about finding what to do when you can't find or tips for finding your broken arrow. I'm like, what are we? We're like scratching the bottom of the barrel for content here now. I don't know. It just seemed like an odd kind of clickbaity a little bit. I mean, whatever. Yeah. I mean, we had to grid search for your broken off arrow, and you had an idea of where it was.
Which is strange, also considering, like, I have the Luminox, so it was red illuminated, and the fletchings or
bright
veins
colors.
were 2 were white and 1 was bright blue.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think that would have stood out against the fall foliage on the fall, you know?
Yeah. But I was going to say before that, you know, Ritter and I have been kind of talking about how we're going to execute our late season here and just trying to, you know, I would like to get one more because number one on my Christmas list this year is a dehydrator because I would really like to experiment with making different kinds of jerky. And that, you know, I've got 6 dough tags because they're just giving them out like candies at Halloween this year for Washington County. And, you know, that Ritter and I would end up just splitting whatever dough that I shoot in this late season this year because I'd just like to get some of that meat so that I can try and experiment with it.
How nice is that, Wags, that we talked about testers? You know, if I shoot when I just want the hams off to do jerky, you can have the rest of it. Is that
just
nice
trying
guy
to share the wealth, you know?
Or is that charity? Is that Tasker being nice, or is that charity?
Well, I've said this time and time again.
It's even a harder pill to swallow now, just because of your misfortunes this year. So
it's pity charity.
Where you're going.
It shouldn't come off that way. I know it does, but
no.
You know, what I want out of this and what I've said for the last 3 years, Ritter, is I just want you to get some venison so I can see what you're making with it. Because I know you're the culinary guy and you like to make all these different recipes and, you know, just using different parts of the deer that I normally wouldn't. It would be really cool to just, I guess, share that experience with you and just see some of the different things that you're making. You know, I mean, as exciting as I got is I made venison chili this year and I'm like, I'm making chili dogs with that. So I repurposed my chili and, you know, just got some hot dogs and stuff. And
you got to make the venison chili and put it over venison hot dogs. So then you're double dipping. Benny like that.
Yeah, like that. Well, I almost did my redneck favorite of the ring bologna and mac and cheese last night, but I thought Sherry was going to be out and about doing some Christmas shopping late yesterday, and she managed to get it all done online. So we were both home. So I'm like, I'm just going to do the chili dogs with the leftover chili that I got. So, but that's what I'm excited about, man. I hope that we can get out there and we can make that happen, or at least you can make that happen. Yeah, I can assist in some way, shape, or form.
I got a couple of dates I think circled in the calendar. I think are going to be good dates, good opportunities, good chances. And that's just based on looking at long-term forecasts and different stuff. You know, the one thing I will say, and I was reading, I think it was Tony Peterson actually wrote the article. I was talking about December deer hunting, December bow hunting specifically, of why, I mean, it can be a struggle and it can be tough, but why it can be good. And I think a lot of people don't think about this if you haven't filled the tag. And I know sometimes it's hard to think about going out there into the cold, you know, because it can be extremely cold in December. But you don't have the pressure. It's you versus the deer. It's, you know, a lot of times not you versus other hunters and the deer.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of the opponents is taken out of the scenario for a lot of people. And I kind of like that scenario. I mean, I haven't had problems with other hunters either. I've been able to figure out ways around them.
Sure.
Which every story I've told of like figuring out pressure and I'm working around the other pressure. You know, the buck that I shot was because I was using other people's pressure to my advantage, you know, and doing those things. I think the thought of having no pressure, being able to like just throw some Hail Marys, to make some wild shots and not worry about screwing things up. That's what I kind of like about this late season thing, which I think I feel good about it. You know, like I said, last year I had a lot of opportunities late, and I didn't take them because I was still being selective. You know, and I there was shots that I was like, could I, shouldn't? You know, I'll wait for a cleaner shot. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. This year now I'm feeling the pressure more because I put the pressure on myself. That I'm like, I need to shoot one this year. So now I'm feeling the pressure. I have to. And then the fact that I couldn't recover it, that also puts the sting in of like, okay, now I really need to I need to get it done. I need to seal the deal. So
just inching closer, man, inching closer. I feel your pain, you know. I mean, I've had that experience the last couple of years. The last couple of years where it's the heartbreak of the end of the year and you shot a buck and you can't find it, and it's the worst. And I think it encourages you to get out there and focus that much more when you get that next opportunity.
Okay, so here's one for both you guys and you, for anyone that's ever, you know, shot a buck and not been able to recover it or whatever. Do you find yourselves, and have you found yourself, when you see other pictures post online, and it looks similar, like the deer looks similar. Like two different states, like it's not the same. Like that's. But like, do you
Ritter saw a deer that was shot in Kentucky and is like, "Damn it, that's my deer."
But it's not even that's my deer. It's like, I feel like it's this weird thing where every deer I see, I'm like, God, that looks just like the one. That looks just like the one. It probably is not even close to the same. But like that's what I'm saying. Does your mind do that? Does your brain like just change the look of something that you feel like, man, mine looked just like that?
I did not. No, I didn't do that, but I bet now I will.
I've seen a ton of those like thinner rack, wide rack 8-pointers. I'm like, that's what I shot.
Yeah, that's
that looks
my
just
guy.
like the rack that I was staring at.
Yeah.
I was just curious. It was just me. I thought I'd throw it out there. If you can relate, would love to hear on socials. Let us know. Send us a message at On the Tailgate. Otherwise, you can use the TalkBack little microphone if you're listening to the iHeartRadio app to the podcast there as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
talking
going to
about
do that
that
now.
Talking about that, is that my deer? Is that, do I see it? When you watch things, or as we watch the TV shows, or we watch this, or we listen to the Drurys or Deercast, and you have all these apps, and you can see property. And the one thing is that deer the same? I don't know. Do we think that? That's the same thing as saying, when in doubt, back out. Well, put your animal, like, where did you shoot it? Ritter, where did you actually hit him? Did you have a videotape? I mean, we don't have cameramen. We can't go to Deercast and say, oh, I hit him right there. Because 1 inch, 2 inches further back, 2 inches further up, or even down is very, you're talking vitals, and it's hard to see that. We don't have cameramen where we can go slow motion and put it in the Deercast. So it seems very easy here to say, when should we go after this? Where was that hit? Most of us, at least in my opinion, I don't know if I heart shot him or double lunged him or pierced something, whatever, until I field dress the animal. So you think you do. But you know what? So going back to your pictures, everything. There's only so much 8 horns, 4 on each side can be differential. Unless it's a non-typical, but it's hard. A lot of deer look the same, and it's hard for us to determine when to go after because we don't have that knowledge or that privilege of having a cameraman going by us and saying, oh, whoa, that might be a gut shot. Pull back.
Yeah, the funny part about that was, when I first had even, after I had, sent the arrow and I know I hit it and the deer took off and, I was kind of doing my weight and, before I was going to climb down and stuff and I, had reached out. In my brain, I was like, oh, that was a 6-pointer because I counted 6 horns. And then it wasn't until even the next day, it was later on in the day and I was like, oh, wait, I'm a moron. I never thought about brow tines. I know it had brow tines.
Yeah, because all morning when we were going back and forth and when I came out there to help you, you're like, I don't know, I think it's a nice 6-pointer. I'm like, all right, let's go find this bad boy. And it was even after I had left.
Yeah.
And then later that day, right before you were getting ready to go back out with Scott. You were like, I'm an idiot.
Right.
I know it was an 8-pointer because I didn't even think about brow tines.
I think the whole thing, I was just so taken back of how it all came about, how it was just so perfect. Because I've told the story on the show here. If you want to go back and listen to that at some point, it's like how it all happened from the moment I got into the tree that morning, like at 5 a.m. I'm an hour and 15 minutes from even opening shooting light. From the moment I got in my tree to the moment that all happened. It was just it was magical. Everything happened so perfectly, and that's where I was so taken back by all that because again, nothing for me ever comes easy. And that just seemed way too easy and way too perfect and way too dreamlike, And you talk about the shot placement. I do remember physically thinking about shot placement. That's why the antler part I wasn't focused with. I was focused on waiting in the spot that I can draw. Making sure he got close to not tip him off, to not mess it up. Yeah. And then once I was drawn, it was hold it and make the right shot. And I thought to myself, I didn't want to shoot too low, going heart shot where you typically would, because of how close it was to me and how high I was up in the tree. I'm 20 foot in a tree, and he was, probably 10-ish yards from the tree. He was close to the tree, so I've got an extreme angle. So I'm like, I don't want to shoot that low, or I risk just grazing or just shooting under him. So I know I've got to come up and try and go for that lung shot. But I think also now as I play back, as I said, I physically thought that in my placement. was there's the chance with head down as he was, or he may have put the head down, that pushed that shoulder back a bit, and that's what I say, shoulder or rib. I think that's where I hit, and because of the angle that I'm at, and that's what Scott and I talked about, after we were trying to do recovery, was, it's weird, those angles can turn arrows, and even if it looks, when that deer took off running, I can tell you where the arrow was sticking out of him. It looked like a damn good shot, just the arrow was still sticking out of him. There's a chance that arrow could have hit and broke and turned, and was still sticking in him, wasn't quite completely broke off until the deer hit the tree, which broke the arrow off. But it could have been splintered, or the arrow, sort of broken off in him already at that point. So there's a lot of the angles are weird. And you got to be. That's the one valuable lesson I learned, was being even more cautious with the angles. I probably at this point I should have never taken that shot. I should have waited for him to get past me more and get me more of a quartering away shot.
Sure,
that would have given me the better shot. I should have waited for that instead of in the moment of like, okay, this is a great shot. I can take it. He has no clue I'm here. Let's take this shot.
Wait for it.
Right. Yeah. Now, the lesson I learned was those angles. And I will now wait. I should have waited till he got past a little farther and waited for a cornering away shot. And I think a lot of times as archers, we get too caught up in, this is a perfect shot. We've got a shot. Got to take the shot. Because you're worried about tipping him off or something messing it up, and the deer taking off or whatever that can happen. And when you get the shot, it's like, I want to take it. Take it. I should have been far more patient with that shot. And that's the biggest lesson as I've been, playing it back for 3-4 weeks now of what to change. I will definitely be even more patient.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, but it is tough to know exactly. You don't know how the deflection takes. You don't know the drop. And if anybody it's sort of like that old saying where, hey, can you sneeze with your eyes open? You can't. There's not a person, and maybe there is some miracle guy that can do that. But every time you fire a trigger, a shot, a pull, a release, your eye blinks.
Can you go two without going number one?
What?
Can you go number two without going number one?
I don't know.
No.
All I know is you should. The most people always are concerned about texting and driving. Let me just tell you, if you have ever sneezed while driving, that is just much more chaotic. Okay, it is so dangerous because it just, I don't know. It's
all right.
We can't sneeze. We can't text. But I was just
we can't do any of that stuff. It's all dangerous.
I was picking my daughter up from the basketball game last night. Unfortunately, we lost. And I see a woman, and it's foggy out, and I swear to you, she must have had 13 dogs on her lap. I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
Dogs on laps, weird deflections. We've covered a lot of stuff already through the show here. But I'm kind of curious. Your hunts in Galena area, Wags, were they similar this year to last year? Because I know we covered it a lot last year, talking about the different topography of that area and stuff like that. Did you find something similar? Or was this year completely different?
Funny. I didn't think of it. No, you know what? I don't know which angle you were trying to go for, but no, it was very similar. It's just obviously the crop rotation was a little bit different, but again, with the Mississippi River being to the west, I think everything in that topography and the animal actions, I think it is all water driven. That is one thing I did learn. I thought maybe, okay, it's hilly. Again, I've seen like in Richland Center or western part of Wisconsin, you see, we're hunting white-tailed deer, not billy goats. And sometimes I'm looking at them like, now, why would a deer path go that way up that hill? There's no way, because it would take me about 5 days to get up there. And sure enough, he takes that path. So everything was pretty much similar. I thought it was. Crop rotation was, but the weather, I guess I didn't really think about weather. It was fine. There was nothing. Nothing. Very, very similar pictures, similar deer. It was everything that I had expected from going there year one. So into year two, maybe year three, I will be more maybe look for something that is something disparate, something that's different or something. But no, to answer your question, no, nothing. Everything was pretty much the same.
Okay.
And I like that. I like that area because I learned when you watch animals. I'm a flatland hunter here in the southeastern Wisconsin, very, very small hills, knolls, rising up into a woodland area or something to that effect. But down there and differently and out west, you learn maybe 10 tendencies of deer. And again, these white-tailed deer seem to amaze me every time I watch them.
Yeah, that's kind of curious. The whole thing, it's all about, I mentioned something I learned from my experience this year and even from last year. Come to this year, you're always constantly learning. That's just curious what it was that you learned, being that last year was your first year, taking it into then going the second year of the things, and then it'll be fun to then recap after next season to, like you said, maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. You mentioned crop rotation. I definitely noticed, I think that a lot of things changed in a lot around the area and the property that I spend most of my time hunting on, because the crop rotation's changed. I think that changed where deer were. It didn't change movements, I don't think, as much, but I think it changed. I guess I shouldn't say move. It changed when they moved, I think, because it went from corn to beans. Mm-hmm. And I think they spent a lot of time. I think I saw more deer early this year than last year, because last year I think it was too easy to just hang out in the corn. They were there. And now without corn, the beans, they could still sit and lay down on the beans, but it wasn't as much. And then you could tell as soon as those beans came off, which came off earlier than corn came off, in the previous year, then everything opened wide again, and the whole game completely changed. And so that's, being rotations or, weather, it's always learning and adjusting and, kind of making those mental notes to yourself.
So what do you guys are more aware of that stuff with the crop rotation than I really am. I mean, I'm so used to being up north where we don't really have any of that plays a part in it. But obviously hunting down here with you, Ritter, I'm just starting to learn more about that now, just because we had last year with corn and this year with beans. Are you seeing better or worse movement depending on what they're planting, or is it just purely for the fact that there's a food source there that it helps keep them in that area?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that with you in a sec here, Wags, but I just want to jump in with my thought on that, is that I feel that beans leave a food source for longer. I sent a video to you a couple weeks ago, Tasker, when I was coming out, when there was that snow on the ground, right? And you could tell they were still in that bean field digging around the snow to get the little bit of greens that were left in the bottom. Now with corn there, the corn all falls in with corn is there. They just, I think, gorge on the corn immediately, and there's not as much of that greenery that stays, at the bottom. Whereas beans, there's a lot of the green that grows under the beans.
I would have thought the opposite, because corn, so many of the cobs are left there.
But they clean the corn off, and they're not going to eat the cobs necessarily. So as soon as the corn hits in the cobs of the ground, they clean up any corn that's left there. And it's pretty much gone real quickly.
Sense, yeah.
Whereas the beans, there's not much of the beans left, but it's more of just the little browsing greens and some of the leftover stuff that comes from they'll browse on that thicker stuff. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Wags?
I would. I think that all has a little bit to do with it. But for my situation, I think the timing is different. Like we've talked about, you said it kind of opens up. It seems like the bigger deer, at least around in my areas, the bigger deer or the numbers of deer seem to go into the corn maybe a little bit earlier. So daylight savings does a big kick. So in November or whatever that is, and it kicks down and all of a sudden it's dark at 5 o'clock, it hurts guys trying to hunt, because when there's corn here, they can go there and almost feel safe and secure. A little bit of a wind, a little bit of cold. Right. But when I have beans around me, they don't necessarily go to the beans as early as they do with the corn. They'll go out and they obviously feed and forage on the beans and the bean fields, and they crush them. Don't get me wrong. But let's just say if they normally, when there's corn, they may go up into the ag fields at, I'm going to make up a number, 5 o'clock. Now when the beans are a little bit lower and no less protection, let's just say they go into their ag fields at 7 o'clock. So that's kind of what I've seen around here. And with the corn being so tall and so protective, you see those little spots, and that's why hunters listen to the farmers. When there's a little patch around by me, Task, when guys are going to harvest or when they're going to combine, the word spreads fast, because when there's a little bit of corn left, everybody's ready to hunt, because you're going to kick the deer out, because they do have a tendency to either lay it early, lay late, but lay longer in the tall corn with me. But once beans are gone, harvested, then there's nothing. You can't lay down there and just see a rack. They go there late to pick, like you just said.
That all makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, I did bring in one thing. Sorry, Wags, you can't see this. We were talking about this, talking about hunting things. I brought in Tasker. My St. Nick brought me, I got to show you this cool little device. So I got from St. Nick one of the battery-operated rechargeable hand warmers.
Yeah.
you are not going to believe, like, I got to get this thing turned on. Like, when I first fired this up, how hot it gets, how fast. I just turned it on. Do you already feel it warm?
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
I mean, it's a noticeable difference.
That's because Ritter's the fancy, sophisticated hunter, like one of our callers or one of our.
Well, I can't say much about that because I actually got one of those the hand muffs where you tuck your hands in there with the battery operated, where you can just take a rechargeable battery out there. Oh yeah, this is definitely warm.
Like really quickly.
See, and I was thinking this was going to be. Wags, have you ever seen those Zippo hand warmers, like the Zippo lighters? You know, some of them are butane, and then this one is actually just battery operated.
Does it have a USB port? Can you charge your phone on that one?
You can charge your phone on it.
Yep.
Wow.
I like the ergonomic shape of
that
it.
is. Yeah.
It's
nice and compact.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice and small.
I had to bring it to show you because you had asked about, saying, oh, you're thinking about them, and I'm, not trying to, Zippo hashtag sponsor us, but like, I was really impressed with how warm it got, how quick, and I was thinking like, yeah, this is, in the shape, I'm like, this is perfect, just kind of keep tucked there in the pocket, because a lot of times I'll wear a thicker glove on the hand that I hold my bow with, but on my release hand, I usually go pretty thin, and I'm like, oh, so I can definitely go super thin, just keep this in a pocket. And, when I don't, I can just keep that hand on that hand warmer and the other hand tucked in the other pocket. I don't need a hand warmer. I'm totally fine. The main reason that St. Nick brought this to me is because St. Nick, much like myself, hates the wastefulness of the old school shake and throw ones.
Yeah.
And not just like that they don't last and they're not that great, but, the impact on the environment of all the waste that comes from them.
Well, and what was it, $25 or something, $20, something like that? St. Nick might know. I don't know. I mean, I could look it up, I suppose. But I looked at the butane ones, and they're $25-ish.
So this came with the Zippo hand warmer, and it came with a LED flashlight, which is going to be a great ice fishing jig recharger.
Sure.
I believe when I looked at FleetFarm.com, I believe Fleet Farm had it for roughly $40 for the combo.
So that's rechargeable, so that makes sense. It's more expensive, so it's $40 for that or whatever, which is the same amount as what my muff was that I bought, that just straps around your waist. I'm telling you, man, that thing is a game changer because I don't like having gloves on when I'm in the woods, no matter how cold it is or whatever. I would rather have a cold hand or a warm hands when I grab my cold bow, but I never shoot with gloves on. I never practice with gloves on. I never do any of that. And I just think that I would rather have the bare hand feel of grabbing my bow and, trigger, release, all of that. I'd rather have that bare hand feel for that. And so I got that this year. And I'm telling you, I mean, my one, it was like a 10,000 AMH or whatever for a battery pack that there's a little pocket on the front side of it. And it lasted from 6 o'clock in the morning until like 3 o'clock that day on that one battery. So, and super warm. I was honestly shocked by that. And it was a game changer for me. And as we're getting into cold season, stuff like that, it goes way beyond the investment.
And that's, another reason I want to bring it up and talk about on the show was exactly that of like, we're getting in that time. I mentioned December deer hunting. If you're still going to be out bow hunting, how cold it is. But then we're getting to ice fishing.
Yeah.
And, the different ways that you stay warm outside in the winter. It's very specific to the Midwest that we deal with that, other parts of the country, yes, they can say, oh, it gets cold in Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana. But I'm sorry, folks, I've been there in the heart of winter. That is not cold. That is not cold. But I mean, is there anything that you do? Any tips? Anything you go to, Wags, to kind of stay warm?
Yeah, I do those. And unfortunately, I use those packs. But the one thing that I found out with those packs, and I think I talked about this before, being older than you two, young pups, when I get cold, when I get chilled, I have this thing like it's made by, I don't know, it goes around my neck. It's like a gaiter, but it has a little pocket. And I found out if I can keep the back of my neck warm, so I'll put a couple of those packets. There's a little pocket in there. And if I keep the back, like if you reach behind your head and you go a little bit lower than your neck, right into your upper back area, if I can keep that, it seems to keep my whole body. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I don't know why that power point or that point of my body, I keep that warm. And I found that out again, even on an early chill in November, when let's just say it went down to like 27 degrees or 35 degrees. And again, it's not cold for us, but when you were used to such warm weather archery season this year, that little bit of a chill, and I put that in there. So I found out that regardless of which avenue I take to keep myself warm, I think as I get older, it doesn't matter. They probably all work for me, but I just got to hit the right spots in my old body because it gets cold.
Well, that's what, the other part that I'm, because Tasker and I were just talking about this, before, we really got rolling the show and stuff too. The biggest thing that I'm struggling with now is to be as light as possible, to carry as little bit, have as thin of layers. But, it's easiest when you get cold is because you sweat, or at least that's my problem is, walking in, doing all those things. If I bring up a sweat, that's when I get cold. Feet are the number one thing there, which is where, I've always done, I hunt in waders, this and that, because I like to be able to go wherever. Now I've decided I just picked up some Alpha Burley lacrosse boots, so I'm going to probably switch and start wearing those so I can hopefully, I was talking about this, I can, whether it's deer hunter, ice fish, whatever, I could walk out in blue jeans, my boots. If it's, deer hunting, it's late, I can, climb up the tree. Once I get up the tree, I can take my boots off. I can change my socks and put on completely, new, dry socks, put the boots back on, and then throw bibs on over the top of that. Because I feel like once your feet sweat or get warm, which is the biggest problem I struggle with, is then your feet are frozen, period. So if I can get my feet dry and cooled off and back in boot, then I'm hoping that I can keep, because that's the big, again, wearing the waders, I've figured this out now. If I reach down into my waders, because I'll take them off, I store things in my tubs in the back, they never really dry. I should be taking them out and drying the inside of my boots.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'm keeping a little bit of moisture in my boots. And as soon as I start getting it warm, that moisture comes right back. Because every time I take off my outer socks, they're slightly damp and wet. That's when my feet are getting cold. So I'm trying to figure out that game of changing clothes, almost dressing, going out in nothing and dressing in the tree, which is the change on the tops I made. I basically wear my Under Armour base layer walking into the woods. It's been 19, 18 degrees. I walk out there just in my base layer, and I completely dress my upper layers from in the tree.
And that's nice because you figure you're going to be carrying stuff out there. You're going to be warm. You're going to be moving. And unless it's super windy and a really cold wind, I mean, even then you're probably fine.
But like you were talking about, Wags, the thing that I keep thinking about now is going with a heated vest. Getting one of those battery-powered heated vests. And I feel like that I can take off a layer, if not two layers, and just keep that core, so I can, then walk out there. I can put the vest on. I won't turn it on until I'm cold. And that's the other thing I've done is I've been slowly adding layer by layer. Once I start getting a pretty decent chill cold, I'll add another layer. And I'll stay with that until I start getting a little more cold, and then I add another layer. I don't just instantly get in the tree and put everything on at once. I've been slowly trying to dissipate the heat and cool down and slowly add back layer by layer. But I'm thinking the heated vest, especially now having the heated hand warmer, seeing that going, okay, I'm on board with this. I'm always the tech guy, y'all know.
Yeah.
But I'm really getting on board with, utilizing battery packs and powers, because now with, the lithium batteries, the power packs, like you said, Tasker, yours lasted how long?
Yeah.
I'm all for it. They've got heated socks and things like that.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. I think for, Wags, you were saying that about the back of your neck and, just some of those little things. For me, it really was my hands. And I can always, I feel like every year up until this year, it's my hands get cold first, even with the little hand warmers in your pockets. My hands get cold first, and then everything else gets cold after that. And it's probably just, there's so much blood that's running through your hands or, like Wags for you through your spine, that keeping that warm helps just keep everything else warm. That was, I think, why I feel like that's such a big game changer for me, is that if my hands are never cold, I'm always going to feel comfortable in the tree. And that has been super nice this year. So
you said you just bought. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, well, Ritter, you said you bought new boots. What is the thinsulate on those Alpha Burley? I mean, did you get 1,000, 1,200?
800 because I didn't want to go too heavy. And I'll wear them again. Wearing them walking out, I don't want to go too heavy. 800 is plenty.
Yeah, you don't want to be.
I think mine are 600. Yeah. And I feel like I've always been pretty good with mine.
And remember, the thicker they are, the heavier they are to walk with. You want something you can still walk in. Lacrosse makes them in 1,000. They make them in 1,600.
Right.
But that is a much bulkier, bigger boot. Do you want to walk 3 miles in a big bulky boot? Do you want to climb climbing sticks in a big bulky boot?
Yeah.
Do you want to take it down as much as you can while still keeping warm? And that was the balance why I picked it 800. I thought that was a good balance of things, and that even to me is a fairly bulky boot, as is now.
Yeah, I think that's a good. That's what I like. And we were out looking for one of my buddy's bucks out in the Dousman area. He was out, out in that area, that Summit area. And I didn't realize that we were going through the swamp, and then we came back onto some dry land, and there must have been a barbed wire fence there, and it slit it, and I didn't realize it. So it didn't cut me, but it slit the boot.
Yep.
And then we went back into the swamp.
You got wet.
And I started feeling it. I'm like, okay, I got to get a new one. I looked at some of the prices on them, so what I did is, what I did have here is I had some I don't know. You ever seen that infomercial for flex tape? So I put some flex tape. I put some flex tape on it so I can watch that guy's commercial and say it works. And I spray painted the boot, a little bit black and green, some camel. But I'm in the market for a new boot. But you're right. I don't want it to become a pack boot, but I want it to be mobile. And I got to make sure it's warm.
Funny you mentioned that. I've got a great product I'm going to share with you. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back around. I'm going to share that with you for your boots or other boots. If you tear them, what you can do. We'll get back to Tailgate Talk next. Hey, it's Ritter. If you follow my socials or listen to our show a lot, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how relaxing and fun archery is. In fact, my wife has joined me and got a bow of her own at the same place I did, Buck Rub Archery. They are your locally owned and operated one-stop shop for all things archery. With the area's largest inventory, they won't be undersold on any bow or crossbow. It's open to the public and the ideal place to find and test a bow before you buy. Plus, they also rent equipment, offer archery lessons, and have space for hosting birthday parties, scouts, or other events. And if you got an old bow that needs to be fixed, they can take care of you as well. Seriously, check them out off I-94 on Silverdale Road or buckrubarchery.com. All right, welcome back to Tailgate Talk. It's on the tailgate of the socials, at The Real Ritter for me, at Wisco Bow Hunting for Eric Tasker. Paul Wagner, a.k.a. Wags, online with us. And so, Wags, you had mentioned you were out and tore your boot on a piece of barbed wire and sliced it.
Correct.
That happened to me back a couple of years ago with a pair of waders. In fact, it's actually the waders that I deer hunted now. I do this because of it. We were hunting the Mississippi River in La Crosse, and all of the boats that my brother and I had a boat together, my buddy Josh had a boat, and my buddy Nate had a boat. And I designed the blinds that went in all these boats. Well, there's the way that the pin system set for the blind to fold up and pin in, it kind of a metal bracket piece that you had to step over if you're going to get up on the bow to climb out of our boats. Well, somehow I did something, and I kind of bumped my ankle into that metal piece. And they shouldn't be that sharp, but again, it just takes the right spot, whatever. I didn't realize it, just like you, Wags, until I jumped off the boat to grab the boat to pull up on the trailer, and I jump into the water, and suddenly my foot just is heavy and wet, and I'm like, that's not good. And I pick up my foot, and there's water pouring out of a gash on the side of my boot. So I'm like, how do I fix this? I tried duct tape. Duct tape doesn't hold the rubber or anything like that. So I went to a product that will hold soles on shoes. And you can get it, I'm pretty sure Fleet Farm will sell it. It's called Shoe Goo.
Oh, yeah, because it's got to be like a rubber-based or like a polymer of some sort.
It's like a rubbery-based glue, essentially. It comes out clear. I shoe gooed, a spot, kind of ran it smooth, let it dry, and then I shoe gooed a little bit more over it. It is held. That happened back in, 2008, I think, 2009. Wow. I'm still wearing them. I can walk through water, everything. That little slice that's there. You can. I should take a picture. I'll show it. You can actually see the crap that I put in. It looks like crap, but it holds up. It's worked great. So you don't have to throw your boots away. You don't have to get new boots. If nothing else, try it and save. It's always good at backups. Because I've got that pair of waders that I hunt in. My duck hunting waders that I've always had. Those are 5 mil neoprene, 1,600 gram thin. Those are the big, huge waders. But that was a lot of diver hunting. So I didn't care how mobile it was. I was getting in out of layout boats or kind of just standing in water type thing. Yeah. But it's always good to have a backup pair. So that just keep that in mind. If what you did doesn't hold up, Wags, go to Shoe Goo and try that one so we can have a backup pair of boots.
I got to do that because I had the waders and we were duck hunting this year. And you know how, I don't know if you do this because you're in it, but so I'm on the edge. We don't have blinds, but we kind of on a pond. And I'm on the edge. I got a good cover above me, but I got a shooting lane, when they're coming through. But I leave my legs into the water. We don't have mojos. We don't have So we have our decoy set, but I kind of sometimes I'll just, if there's nothing coming, I'll kick I don't know if you do this, but my feet are hanging in the water. Yeah, so I do that. And all of a sudden I was like, what the hell happened? And my waders are wet too. So I do know what Shoe Goo is. It comes in that red tube, and it has white writing on it. And we used to use it in the minor leagues when we were playing. Pitchers have a tendency to drive. So I'm a right-handed pitcher. My right foot would always drag as it leaves the rubber, and it would tear up your spikes. And I can't, that separation from sole to material.
Yep.
And you can't afford to buy new shoes every time you pitch. So I do know of the Shoe Goo product. I just never correlated it with this.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to fix my lacrosse boots and I'm going to fix those waders, because you should see me. I'm kicking, I'm causing waves in the water with one leg, and I have one leg up trying to drain the water out. Coming all the way up my ass.
Hey, glad we can help with something. Tips shared. That's what it's all about this week.
Well, and I was thinking about that. I remember, I don't know, it must have been, it was probably 2017. Yeah. And I was like, within a week of one of my races that summer, and we went over to Pike Lake, and Sherry came with, and I was just going to go for a swim out in the lake. And I'm pulling up my wetsuit, and at the bottom of the zipper, like right above my tailbone, where it actually, attaches to the rest of the wetsuit, ripped, and it was a horseshoe at the bottom. And they have wetsuit sealant too that has held up ever since then. And obviously, you can't get water inside of those, so it's waterproof. That would work for waders for sure, because that's also like a 5 mil neoprene kind of a material.
Anything rubber. If there's anything that's rubber, Shoe Goo is a great product to do. And I even for a while, just to to make sure after I shoe gooed and it dried, I even duct taped then over the Shoe Goo. Eventually, duct tape, but then it comes off. Right. But still, it was just like a little peace of mind to okay, just in case. But God, that was miserable, because I remember before I figured out the Shoe Goo thing, I did try a couple of hunts with just taped, and I even tried doing the wearing a plastic bag over my leg and taping it onto my leg. No, once I shoe gooed, game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, because when rubber rips or when you get that cut, sometimes you can't find it. You almost have to find both sides and kind of squeeze it together to expose the wound.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, if I take that lacrosse boot, I expose the wound, put a little Shoe Goo in there, let it close back up by itself, then goo over the top of it.
Yep.
And then that's perfect. That's perfect. That'll work. That'll work perfect.
Good stuff. Well, so now we're wrapping up December. We're going to start getting into ice fishing, and we were talking about it on the show last week. We're trying to figure out, we're going to put together a ice fishing extravaganza. Are you in on something like that, Wags? If myself and our buddy John from Clam put together a little, even if it's just a flag fest. The whole point is we're trying to get Eric Tasker out into the ice.
Yeah, Wags, I don't know if you know this about me, but I don't do ice fishing, and they're convinced they're going to get me out this year. So it's becoming more and more likely.
Yeah, it's good. The boys set me up with a nice suit a couple years ago, and hey, I have the material. I just need the place. So if we do set it up, Ritter, if you do it, I'm in on it. I'm definitely in on it. For how long I'll last, I don't know. You got to remember, I'm an old man. But I'll do my best.
Well, I just heard that there would be blackberry brandy there, and I was like, all right, that should keep me warm for a while.
Hey, where's Tasker and Wagner? No,
they're at the bar. They got off the ice 3 hours ago.
They were like, "Oh, we ran out of beer. We better go find some." We'll let you guys know when we find it. Oh, the bar stool got me held down. I couldn't share the info.
Oh, that'll be fun though. No, that'd be great. I think that would actually be a blast. Especially Wags. I don't think you've met our other buddy Vince yet, but he's best looked at like a WWE superstar, essentially cutting a promo every time you talk to him. He's like, he's this big, he's like 6'4". He's all muscle. He's a carpenter. He lives on caffeine.
Just go back and listen to the show, the Bow Hunters and Muskie Maniacs, back from was sometime last spring. You'll know exactly the person right then and there. We had Vince and you're talking muskie fishing. It was good stuff.
Good. We'll have him walk out first and test the thickness of the ice.
Oh, man.
Hey,
No, that'll be great. So,
great to meet you.
Rez, when you listen to this, we're going to have to start getting dates together, buddy.
Yeah, we'll work on something. So that's we're going to wrap it up. Boy, the show flew by. Again, for having no itinerary and no agenda. Boy, that's what happens. You just kind of get going places. But it's been good to catch up, good to get together. We'll all be together in studio next week. That'll be fun.
I believe so.
So we'll get something fun planned for that. And until then, thanks again to our sponsors, Bucker Outfitters. For Wags Tasker, I'm Shaun Ritter. This is Tailgate Talk.